Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. How are you doing today? I hope you're having a great day so far. Well, let me just say, I hope you're having a decent day so far with everything that is going on right now throughout the country, especially dealing with this pandemic. I hope you and your loved ones are staying safe, you're staying healthy, or as healthy as you possibly can. But I'm not going to talk about that today. I'm here to distract you with a good old reaction to who else? The Rewired Soul, because that's what I do here. I react to him sometimes. Usually. So that's what we're doing. I'm hoping to get your mind off of what's going on, because I just saw a video that caught my eye and I want to watch it and see what he has to say. He decided to upload a video a few days ago titled "Comparing the Brains of Trisha Paytas and Dissociated." I'm interested in seeing, like, I know this didn't happen. I know it's clickbait. I know it is. I know it is to get people to watch, and he's been successful with it. I just want to see what he has to say, see if I get upset, see what my reaction is. But before we even get into all of that, if you are new here, welcome. This is Journey to Find Kay, and I'm Kay. I like to talk about mental health. I react to the Rewired Soul, but I'll talk about other topics here on this platform or in society if I feel like there's a good lesson we can learn about mental health and or substance abuse, because I'm a mental health patient, worker, and advocate. And I want to use my opinion and my experience to negate some of the things that we see here in society when it comes to these topics. So if you enjoy my content, you enjoy watching me, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button down below. Hit the bell so that way you're also notified every time I post a video. You can also check me out at patreon.com, Journey to Find Kay. Check out my different tiers, different little things you get with each one. I just uploaded a patron exclusive video the other day that you could see if you were one of my patrons. Another one will be up for them next week as well. And sometimes they get, videos early, things like that. So don't be afraid to head over there, check it out, sign up if you want to. I appreciate y'all no matter what. So like I said, you guys, this video just caught my eye. It's, the title, it's clickbait. It's something that's like, hey, what is he going to talk about? Because we know dang on well, Trisha Paytas and Dissociated did not go and get brain scans. We know that didn't happen. So I want to see what he's going to be doing in this video, and it piqued my interest. So good job, Chris, on doing that. Let me stop rambling. Let's just go ahead and get on into it.
Controversy started with Trisha Paytas claiming that she has dissociative identity disorder. I've heard a couple things. One of them is that Trisha Paytas is merely acting and pretending that she has dissociative identity disorder.
I don't believe it.
And another thing I've heard is that there are actually brain studies around the diagnosis of
I don't think she has alters. I believe she has mental health concerns. She could have anything other, some other personality disorder. I don't know. I'm not diagnosing her, but I do not believe she has DID. She could have something else. I don't think she has alters. No.
But focus on the solution. And if you're new to my channel is all about mental health. And typically what I try to do is provide different tools and resources to help you improve your mental and emotional well-being, like I do for myself.
And her doing that is dangerous.
To help with depression and anxiety.
It's not okay.
But today we're going to be researching dissociative identity disorder.
Mental health doesn't excuse crappy behavior.
Alright, so those of you who aren't caught up to date, Trisha Paytas claimed that she had dissociative identity disorder. She actually self-diagnosed. Recently, Edmund from Edmund's Generation actually interviewed Trisha Paytas' ex-girlfriend who has dissociative identity disorder. I highly recommend that you check it out. They actually did a live stream.
Are you kidding me? I saw that, but I was like, okay. Like, I'm just so, like, when it comes to her, it's like danged if you do, danged if you don't. Like, in my personal opinion, I don't believe she has dissociative identity disorder. I am a child of someone who was diagnosed with that. I've watched alters. I've seen what that looks like. Doesn't always present the same for everyone, and I understand that. Everyone is individual. I preach that all day. But I just can't, when you have someone, a pattern of behavior the way she is, I empathize with her mental health. I hope she is, gets better with whatever she is going through. But that's it, because you have the means. You have the means. I'm sorry. At the end of the day, I can empathize people. We can educate people on how this is not okay. But it doesn't excuse what she does, and it doesn't make it okay. And it's sad. It's hard because people want to sit here and take mental health seriously. We want people to understand how serious it is, how serious diagnoses are, how serious all of it is, period. You have such a big platform. It can do so good if she was just honest and shared. Like, yeah, I really don't know what's going on. I should go get this help. Whoop, whoop, whoop. And then be like, okay, let's follow this mental health journey because you're being honest. But it always comes across as trolling, and you can't help but feel that way when you know this is someone who has the means and the opportunity to get the help that she can get. There's so many people out here in this country who wish they could get the help that she would be able to get. And I don't want to hear anyone talking about no quarantine. You can get online and get that help if you want to. I've shared that before. You can check my description box down below. I have different resources for everyone. Most places are doing telemedicine where you can do FaceTime. You can do it over the phone. You give them consent, they can treat you. So there's no excuse. There's literally no excuse, especially for someone who has the means of Trisha Paytas. I'm sorry.
As well.
I want her to get help. I want her to get better, but I'm not going to get off her neck either.
Was faking this.
It's not okay.
But again, I was told that there are actually a lot of brain studies around this, and I am a big nerd. I'm a big nerd when it comes to psychology, mental health, neuroscience, and all that stuff. And my beautiful girlfriend Trisha, she's actually currently pursuing her master's degree in social work, so she has access to this online library of any study that I want to look at. So that's what I spent most of my morning doing, looking into some of the research around dissociative identity disorder, and I actually found this very interesting one. But anyways, I will circle back to this at the end. But the only way to really tell is if you put Dissociative did and Trisha Paytas in brain scans and saw what was actually going on. And we'll explain how this study went. But is that likely to happen? Not really, because you can't just walk in and say, yo, give me a brain scan. It takes a lot of money. But I mentioned this in another video. Logan Paul actually did that.
But don't be afraid to ask. Some providers do share with your provider your history, your medical history, all of that. Because if it's needed, they'll ask for it.
But anyways, let's jump into this study. So the first thing
now, insurance, on the other hand, I know.
Yeah, it started out by talking about a little bit of the controversy around dissociative identity disorder. So it says dissociative identity disorder is a disputed psychiatric disorder. Research findings and clinical observations suggest that DID involves an authentic mental disorder related to factors such as traumatization and disrupted attachment. A compelling view indicates that DID is due to fantasy proneness, suggestibility, suggestion, and role-playing. Here we examine whether dissociative identity state-dependent psychobiological features in DID can be induced in high or low fantasy-prone individuals by constructed and motivated role-playing and suggestion. So basically what they're saying is there is some controversy around the diagnosis saying that people who show symptoms of DID, they are, easily able to act, such as what people are saying about Trisha Paytas. Trisha Paytas is also an actress, all right? But yeah, they say that their suggestibility and acting might play a role. So they wanted to test that theory out by doing some brain scans. So basically what they did was they got 3 groups of people.
Let me rewind that real quick. I got to hear that one more time.
Some controversy around the diagnosis saying that people who show symptoms of DID, they are, easily able to act, such as what people are saying about Trisha Paytas. Trisha Paytas is also an actress, all right? But yeah, they say that their suggestibility and acting might play a role. So they wanted to test that theory out by doing some brain scans. So basically what they did was they got 3 groups of people. They got a group of people with dissociative identity disorder. They got people who are high fantasy prone, and they got people who are low fantasy prone. So you got people with the actual disorder, people who would be into being live action role playing, or an actor or actress, and then they got 8 people who are just like, nah. So basically the way you can think about it is they got 11.
What? The way I read it, and I will look into it again just to double check and make sure, and if I'm wrong, I will, the way I took that was it wasn't that they were people who like live action, like role playing. No, the way I took it as is these are people who are able to detach from reality a little bit easier. Kind of an easy way of suggesting it is like, you ever see a kid, like I'm one of those as well, where it's like, and you wave your hand in front of your face and you're like, hey, you weren't here. You're off in your own world. You detached a little bit. You had your own little fantasy going on in your head. You might have had scenarios playing. That's what I took away from it. I didn't take it as someone who just goes role playing in real life. That's wrong. And that's not, at least that's not what I took it as. You guys can let me know in the comments what you guys think. But if I'm wrong, I apologize, and if I can find some more info about it, I will insert it here on this video. But that's what I took it as people who are able to just detach. You kind of have your own fantasy going off in your world, in your head. It might be a coping skill. It might be something you do because you're just sitting there. I don't know. I'm one of those. It doesn't really have anything to do with me, being bored or anything. It's more like I could just be gone, and I'm thinking of something else. I might be having a whole I was gonna curse. I could be having a whole conversation, like whole scenarios playing with my eyes wide open, fantasizing. I didn't take it as, oh, but that doesn't mean I want to go do live action role playing. That's not my gig. You see what I'm saying? So I feel like he's starting this video off of false information.
People like
Guys, message from the editor. Just wanted to follow up and let you know that I did kind of explain that pretty much the way I was thinking it meant. That, you know, it's someone with an overactive imagination. That's what they used to say back in the day. Someone who's able to fantasize. That's who they were testing. People who were prone to doing that. Not someone who was able to act. Not someone who was able to role play. None of that thing. It's important to get these facts correct when we're representing this information, because even though this is a study to where it still is a good outcome, it is the outcome that he wanted, of course. You know, when it comes to Chris, that's what he does all the time. But it's still important that when you're representing this information, that people know it's not just because you wanted to role play. It's not just because you're an actor. It's because these were people who were prone to fantasizing, prone to detaching and fantasizing, having their own world, overthinking. Those were the people that were tested, not just someone who was an actor. All right, let's get back to this video.
Just as you did, 10 people like Trisha Paytas, and 8 people like me. I'm not into fantasy role playing or anything like that.
That's no, don't do, no. Misrepresenting the study. Gosh, I hope I'm not all the way incorrect in this video, but I didn't read it that way. I read one study was saying trauma and disrupted attachment moments within maybe your childhood or whatever is going on. And another one was it's people who are able to fantasize, they detach from reality. Yes, they might enjoy role playing, but also people are suggesting things to them, and that's why it might look like they're easily suggestionable. So that's why it might look like they have DID, and that the study was going to sit there and try to suggest things and have these people do things to see if that's what makes it present that way. Like, it doesn't mean you putting Trisha Paytas right there is trash in itself, because yes, she might be an actress, and do I believe she has DID? No, I don't. But she could have something else. There's so many other diagnoses out there where you can detach, where you can have these moments of detachment sense. You get what I'm saying, you guys? Like, it's just
And they compared all of these different.
Yeah, 3,000 people watched this.
Despite its inclusion in the Diagnostic Statistical Manual for Mental Disorders, the DSM-5, the genuineness of dissociative identity disorder continues to be disputed. Supporters of the diametrically opposed trauma-related and non-trauma-related views have been engaged since decades in a passionate debate regarding its validity as a mental disorder, and whether it is related to traumatization or to fantasy proneness, suggestibility, suggestion, and simulation. So what they wanted to do was measure the cerebral blood flow.
And just as someone who's seen it, someone who has witnessed it, and could tell this was not someone acting.
All right. So for the groups who were high and low in fantasy proneness, they told act as if the you I've been addressing thus far is one of those people, and as if the you I've been talking to is unaware of the other co-inhabitants. When I provide a signal for contacting another co-inhabitant, act as though you are another person. So basically, they had people with dissociative identity disorder, when they were switching different identity states, they monitored that. But then on the other hand, for the people in the groups for high and low fantasy proneness, they told them to act as if, hey, this is you, okay? But when we cue you, and what they did was they did some memory stimulation, and they involved like trauma-related memories and everything like that. And they said, like, act as if you are 2 different people. The other person that you're switching to is a completely different person who is unaware of this conversation. All right. So part of this, what they found was when they did this, there was like little to no hippocampal response. So the hippocampus in the brain is responsible for memories. Okay. So those with dissociative identity disorder had a low hippocampal response, which means when switching to those states, it wasn't pulling the memories in the same way that it was for people with high and low fantasy proneness. So basically, people with high and low fantasy proneness, when they would switch, you could see from the brain scan that it was pulling memories, right? Because that is something that is automatic, right? So if you say, hey, pretend like this other state was never in that conversation, like, you can't really fake that. You see what I mean? When you are told, okay, now we're going to talk to this other person, your brain is automatically pulling these memories. But those with dissociative identity disorder, that wasn't happening. The hippocampal reaction or response.
So, but what about the low-high prone? That's what I want to know.
Faking. All right, who were acting. So, what did they find? So, they found some differences between how the brain works for those
Sorry for my cat.
and those who were high and low fantasy prone. What was interesting, here's what I found really, really interesting about this, was people who were...
Hold up. Let me go back. Sorry, guys. I can't
were
tell.
high and low fantasy prone. What was interesting, here's what I found really, really interesting about this, was people who were high in fantasy proneness actually had brains less similar to those with low fantasy proneness when compared to those with dissociative identity disorder, all right? So you take somebody...
Let's go back and read that. It says, thus, relatively speaking, this is what he's highlighting, low fantasy prone controls simulated the performance of DID patients better than high fantasy prone controls. This result is the opposite from the direction indicated by holders of the socio-cognitive and fantasy-based model Okay, so those who are low fantasy prone are faking. If you're, this is like, I feel like this is giving the wrong information. This is, oh my gosh, he does this all the time. Again, let me know if you guys get what I am getting down in the comments below. So let me know if you guys get what I think they're trying to say. I think they're saying those who were low prone to fantasy, they were able to simulate, pretend to the characteristics of someone who had DID better than those who are high fantasy, because they're not there. They are detached. You detached for that moment. It might not be as significant or as big as dissociative identity disorder, but you detached from reality in some way. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking they're saying those who are able to, detach from reality, maybe you catch yourself in your own little fantasy land. We call it La La Land sometimes. Growing up, that's what I heard all the time. You might call it that. They weren't faking because they were detached in their own little world. Those who are low prone, they were able to do it better because they don't fantasize. They have to sit here and think about it. It is acting for them. I think Chris would be the actor. Trisha Paytas would be a person who's fantasy prone, someone who's able to detach, someone with other, she might not have DID, she might have other type of actual diagnoses that, allow detachment, like he was stating before, borderline personality disorder. There are other diagnoses that do this as well. She might be one of those, and that would be her high fantasy prone, and then those with DID being DID. That's what I'm taking from
fantasy
it.
proneness when compared to those with dissociative identity disorder, all right? So you take somebody like Trisha Paytas who acts and everything like that. You take somebody like me who's into fantasy or role-playing or acting or anything like that. My brain would actually be closer to somebody with dissociative identity disorder when going through those states and this research and this experiment. So these researchers also argue against the socio-cognitive view of dissociative identity disorder, believing that it is based on societal or cultural factors, right? One of the arguments is that, people just do, switch call on camera or like Meet My Elders videos, because it's like a thing, right? It's a thing on YouTube. But what they're saying is that this isn't really an influencer. This doesn't help people better imitate the brains of people with dissociative identity disorder. And basically the final conclusion of all this says this. The findings are at odds with the idea that differences among the different types of dissociative identity states in DID can be explained by high fantasy proneness, motivated role enactment, and suggestion that indicate that DID does not have a sociocultural origin. So
Thank you.
This is one of many studies. They've done a bunch of studies on this. I was looking through, I just found this one kind of interesting because they compared it to like somebody who is regularly acting and playing out a role. But there were a bunch of other ones. If you like this video, just let me know down in the comments. I am somebody who is not well versed in dissociative identity disorder, although I've worked with many, many people with different psychological disorders. Haven't worked with anybody who had dissociative identity disorder, and I like learning. I like educating myself about different mental health disorders. It helps me be a little bit more empathetic, Like a lot of us just focus on our illness, right? I focus on my anxiety, my depression, my addiction. These are the things that I care about, right? Like a lot of us care about our thing. So what I try to do, I try to educate myself on other disorders just so I can have a better understanding of what other people are going through. Because when it comes to mental health awareness and, the stigma around mental health, like it's all of us. Like,
He read a whole study and didn't even understand what they were saying.
Especially if we come into contact with somebody with this disorder, understanding a little bit more.
I might not even understand what they're saying, and I'm going to make sure I do, but that's not what I took from it.
Prove what's really going on is to take Trisha Paytas and put her in an fMRI brain scan and run her through an experiment.
Messed up My Chemical Romance. God, I love My Chemical Romance. Look at that. Don't do that to Helena. What are you doing? That was the song back in the day.
All right. But anyways, that's all I got for this video. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up.
Okay, no. So ultimately, I feel like he presented that study incorrectly. I feel that when he's talking about fantasy prone, they're not talking about people that like role playing. It's not talking about people who are just going to who would go out and, I don't know what those things are, because that's not my cup of tea. I love fantasy, but that's not what he's talking about. What he's talking about is someone who is prone to detaching, someone who is able to, go off into what we may call La La Land. You look over there, they were here one second and they're not here any longer because whatever is going on up here might be a little bit more interesting. And I'm guilty of that. There are different diagnoses that have that as a symptom. And he's shared, one of them, which was like borderline personality disorder. You can have detachment moments. You can detach. That is a symptom, that can be a symptom of borderline personality disorder. So like, I don't like him always pushing it on her. There are other diagnoses that you detaching can be a part of. And with this study, I feel like what they're talking about is people are those type of people. Is a person who is prone to, a high prone person to fantasy is someone who detaches themselves, who's able to go into that la la land easily, no issue. I'm one of them. A low prone person is someone who doesn't catch themselves maybe living in a fantasy world, as we would say. It's hard for them to do that. So I think the study, yes, it did have the results we wanted to, where it was like, yeah, you can't just fake this. You know, the brain still didn't behave the same way. Yes, the person who was low prone was able to do the characteristics of someone with DID, but the brain didn't match up, and you could tell that they were faking it. And someone who was high prone to fantasy, they were someone who had less characteristics of someone who has DID, and their brains didn't match up. So it just showed that this was a great study to talk about, like, DID not being fake, that there are brain studies out there that share that, you know, it's real. Like, this is something that people aren't faking when they do switch between alters and things like that. But the way he represented it was just it's not right. Like, I'm sorry. You're just misrepresenting information. And again, I want to hear from you guys down below. You guys let me know. Maybe I have it all wrong. If I do, it would be inserted in this video somewhere for you guys to check out. It'll be a voiceover or something saying, hey, I was wrong. But I really feel like that's what they were saying. I want to hear from you guys down below. How did you take this study? Do you feel it is a great study to kind of prove that, you know, DID isn't something that people can just easily fake with acting and stuff like that? That was kind of the main takeaway I took. But do you see how it could be problematic, you representing information this way? Because just saying, oh, it's somebody who can act, it's someone who can do that. There's plenty of people who can act, but that does not mean that they're fantasy prone. And that is what they were talking about. But I want to hear from you guys down below. Let me know, what do you guys take away from this study? I know it's just excerpts. I might be able to find the actual study that he used, but it is hard because, like you said, she's getting her master's in, you know, social work. You get those little libraries for free with the EDU and all of that, and I ain't doing that right. I don't got that. So I'll see if I can find this study.
Also, real quick, it's not lost on me how quick I was able to find the study. So did he really get it from his beautiful girlfriend, Tristan? The world will never know.
And check in, and like I said, it'll be inserted in this video. You guys probably already watched if I was all the way left or wrong or anything, but I want to hear your guys' opinion and all of that down below in the comments. If you made it this far and you haven't subscribed, don't be afraid to hit the subscribe button down below. Hit the bell so you're notified every time I post a video. Hit that thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. Check me out on Patreon at patreon.com, Journey to Find K. Got some early access videos that's going to be popping up over there shortly for you guys. And yeah, that's about it. I hope you guys stay safe. I hope you guys are sheltering in place, staying at home, whatever order you guys are under right now. You're doing it safely. Don't be afraid to go outside though, get some sun, do some walks. I know some people have time limits, like out here it's 5 p.m. You know, listen, don't get in trouble, but do what you can to stay safe physically and mentally, because again, not all of our mental health is set up the same. I want y'all to know I appreciate y'all. I will catch you guys in my next video. Bye.